daughter, Edie Weaver, Dane Weaver's wife, and she would, because he couldn't, in recent years he couldn't even handle a pen himself.
Really?
So he would dictate, and as he said to me one of the last times I saw him, "I'm the great dictator." Anyway, he passed away. I don't know that the funeral arrangements have been set, but I don't know that they've been made public yet.
I don't think so.
I received a private notice on it yesterday.
It just said that he passed in the paper today.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Just a great guy. Now, it's incredible that whether 88 or whatever he was, he died a great guy, because he had a rough start. He had a real rough start. And I'm not telling any tales out of school here, because he told all these stories himself, not only to anyone who would listen, but also in the paper. But he was when he was young, I forget how old he was. He was not very old, 10 or 11. His father committed suicide.
Oh, really?
And it kind of wrecked the family, as you can imagine. And Jim became a very troubled kid. He went to St. Mary's. He was going to St. Mary's at the time. His best friend was Key McDermott, who passed away recently. And T always looked out for him. As T did every stray that came down the road for the rest of his life. And it got to the point his mother couldn't handle him, and he ended up in these different, what we call today reform schools, or we would have called then probably reform schools, but he was farmed out to these different places. I don't know what the circumstances were, but he later did time in state prison. He told me he was in the early 50s. He was up in Dannemora as without the just visiting pass. Married a wonderful woman. I think they're married 61 years, 62 years, something like that. And his wife Mary used to work with my mother-in-law in the Early Start program, so they were friends for a long time. My wife and Edie were classmates and friends forever. Their two oldest kids kind of wrapped around a couple of my kids, so when they lived in the West End, they were playmates occasionally. They'd have these play dates with the little kids. Jim's son Mike, I've known forever, just about, and his daughters did Irish dancing with my daughter Louisa, and I used to be an occasional dance partner of his oldest girl, Jim's granddaughter Keely. And we were so close that Keely invited us to her wedding, so it's great. So anyway, his stories about growing up poor and living poor as an adult, and trying to raise a family with nothing coming in. He was making money as a short order cook if he could get to work. Because he was he's an ex-con. He was an ex-con. He had no, and he just turned into a great father, great grandfather, a great grandfather. And his final years, despite his health, I think were probably the most joyous of his life, and I'm so thrilled that he shared it with us. And I know the plan, well, at least Edie's plan, was to eventually get all his stories together and put them in book form, and I can't wait to get my copy. I had a long talk with him at the Spring Fling a couple of years ago when I was, when my book first came out, Where Do We Find Such Men? By the way, I should add that Jim Sheridan was my best publicist as well, because he was constantly mentioning my books in his Saturday articles. So I'm really going to miss that. But he came in his wheelchair while I was signing books, and he just started talking. And let me tell you, it was like a Howard Hawks screwball comedy from the 30s. The dialogue was just 100 miles an hour, and it was hilarious. I mean, I was exhausted just listening to him. And then I saw him again this summer at one of the concerts at the big band, the Joey Thomas Big Band concert. He came down for that and caught my ear again for a while.
That's great. That's great when you hear stories like that.
But wow, June, and he knew every joke there was too. On top of it, he would manage to feed them into the conversation. So I don't know. It's no wonder his kids are all quiet. I mean,
they didn't get a chance to talk, right?
All right. Well, I just spilled what little water I had all over the announcements. Anyway, Jim Sheridan passed away. The funeral will be later this week. Not before Wednesday, I don't think. But
I didn't know Jim. I lived on the West End from the 50s, and I don't remember my kids mentioning the name, the Sheridan name.
Yeah, they lived on. I remember them living on Bunn Street. But later on, when Edie and Dan got married, they lived down on one of the. It was either McFarland or Caroline, one of those street below, between Phillips and Stewart, someplace. So it was, kind of between you and me. But he spent, he struggled all his life to support his family. My wife was over at their house all the time and said, where's your father? Well, he's working up in Maine, at a hotel for the summer.
Back then, if you had 3 or 4 kids, it was difficult. It was keep your head above water.
So actually, Mary's family went up one summer to York Beach, and the Sheridan kids gave him letters for Dad, and they stopped to see him at the motel he was working at I think it was a short order car, if I recall. But it's not, Well, I guess if you got to go somewhere if you don't have to work, you might as well be in a nice spot on the ocean.
If you don't have a formal education, or knowledge, or trade school or something back then, you took any job that you could get. And in the 50s, they weren't too bad to get.
But they weren't great. So, his father died during the Great Depression. I can only imagine what that was.
Really.
Jeez. Anyway, he left us quite a body of wonderful work.
Good legacy.
So our regards to the family. The families, the extended family. Alrighty. This is WCSS, you're on the air.
Good morning. I used to love reading his articles. It kind of brought me back to the 50s and 60s when we grew up. But I just want to let you know, Bob, that it is in the Schenectady Gazette. James J. Sheridan III died. Calling hours are Tuesday 4 to 6. And funeral services are Wednesday 12 noon at the Riley Mortuary. So you know. And the other third thing I want you to know, she's doing absolutely wonderful, and thanks for your response.
I saw that. And one more thing. Are you there?
Go ahead. I'm here.
The mayonnaise on the grilled cheese sandwich, excellent idea.
Wow. Okay. Speechless. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Later, my friend. Goodbye.
He gave me a tip one day that, his complained that how hard the butter was, and this gluten-free bread falls apart, so he says, put mayonnaise on it. I said, what, are you kidding? He said, no, try it. So I put the mayonnaise on there, and it toasted up gorgeously.
Oh, you put it on before you toast it?
So yeah, put it on the outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, put it on the outside like you would the butter making a grilled cheese sandwich. So I made the grilled cheese sandwich instead of with butter, with just spreading the mayonnaise on it. Perfect golden crisp, and plus it added just that little bit of tang to it on top of it. So
interesting.
Yeah. Probably scientists will discover that you're not supposed to heat mayonnaise because it turns into a deadly poison. But aside from that,
well, as long as it takes years and years for it to develop, that's okay.
it could be
like most of the stuff.
Who knows?
Oh dear.
Gavin is not here yet because he's been attending Sandy Kessler's funeral, which is right now, or just getting over, I guess. Sandy, on top of being Gary Kessler's mother and the other Kessler, Gary used to run Ferriello's and was a good friend of ours. But Sandy is also the great aunt of our contributing editor, Philip Tambasco.
Oh.
It's grandmother Maggie's sister. Okay.
I didn't know them either.
Yeah. Anyway, they're wonderful. She and her husband, wonderful people. Absolutely wonderful people. Sweet and down to earth, and it's sad to see her go, but that's where we all end up, I guess. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have a question for you concerning the streets and a pothole. If you hit a pothole and on most cars you got plastic bumpers and you crack your bumper, can you send the bill to the city?
You can send it. They're not going to pay it.
There's one caveat to that, is that if the pothole is reported to the city 24 hours before you hit it,
in writing, filed with the city clerk,
then
duly certified.
Then you have a.
Then you might have a case.
Okay.
What if I hand deliver it to Giggles O'Toole?
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
Well, both. I even hand it to her.
No, you got to file it with the city clerk. Before you hit it. Well, wait a minute. There's another caveat. Are you still there?
24 hours before you hit it.
Yeah, but there's more than that. If you report it, and then you hit it, you're not going to collect anyway because it's there and it's your own fault.
It's your own fault.
This is what we call city government catch-22.
Catch-22. I was going down West Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay.
West Main Street a week ago, and at the foot of Clinton, I'm traveling 25, 30 miles an hour, and I hit something in the middle of the road. I said, oh my God!
Oh, there was a flood there.
Yes, but this was at night.
Yeah.
Or no, it was the day after the flood. Or a couple of days.
No, it ran. Whatever was running there, the water was bubbling right out of the street for a couple of days.
There was no water running when I hit it.
Okay.
But I called the city barn, and the next day they were out there trying to take care of it. I went down the next day, but not purposely to look for it.
Yeah.
But it was gone.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So they're pretty good. Sometimes they dig up the wrong places, but
yes, well, those things do happen.
Yeah.
But Ken, the water gang is working in around Joe Isbell's house today, and there's a comedy of errors going on, but that's neither here nor there.
No.
Those guys are out there digging in this weather. I mean,
Yeah, this is...
Take a look around this mall this morning, the Riverfront Center. It was pitch dark when I walked in there.
Yeah.
Because everybody's closed, just about.
Yeah.
Except for WCS. That's because we're the station of record. We got to be here and let you know what's going on.
And I made a point to get here. Well, let's see. What happened? Oh, yesterday I had to go to Schuylerville. My great-granddaughter's birthday.
Okay, not your great-great.
No, the second great. My granddaughter's daughter.
My granddaughter's daughter. Okay, so your great-granddaughter's birthday. How old?
So happy birthday, Emma. She's 2.
Oh, that's a nice age.
Yeah.
That's why they call it that terrible.
Yeah, beautiful little girl.
Oh, we had Laura Bean overnight. It looks like we may have her another overnight. You're
Can't get home.
I know you're going to be shocked to hear this, but Ichabod Crane Central School was closed this morning. Believe that?
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Why would they close the school
I don't
down?
know. They said weather or something. I don't know.
Wow. Well, yeah, they get the weather before we do.
They do usually.
Yeah, usually.
Usually.
When you first said Ichabod Crane, I thought you were thinking of Cranesville.
Oh, no, not Cranesville.
I said, oh, Jesus, Jim. You got to get with it.
But, as you know, Rip Van Winkle came from Cranesville.
Yeah.
The real Rip Van Winkle.
Knew him
We've
well.
told that story.
I knew him
You knew him well. Yes. Before or after? No, it's oddly enough. Well, obviously, Rip Van Winkle is a fictional story by Washington Irving, but it was one of his first big, that and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow featuring Ichabod Crane, were his first 2 big mega hit stories. But Rip Van Winkle, as Irving tells it, got drunk with the ghosts of Henry Hudson's crew bowling 9-pins or something like that, and slept for 20 years and then comes back. But he fell asleep before the American Revolution. So among other things, the tavern he used to hang out in was called the King George Tavern, and when he comes back, it's the George Washington Tavern. But the real guy, Irving was practicing law in Albany as a young man, and I think he was probably living south of Albany, which is probably why Ichabod Crane is named for his character. I think he was probably lived in Columbia County at one time. But in any event, while he was in Albany, the story hits the papers from the state senator and former judge from Glenville or somewhere there, Scotia way, puts a notice in the paper. He had been riding along this, what's probably now Route 5 in Scotia, and he sees this man sitting by the road, and he recognizes him as, I forget his first name, but the name was Groot from Cranesville, one of the earliest families in Cranesville, G-R-O-O-T, an old Dutch, and he's wearing these old Dutch clothes that are way out of date, and in rags, and the thing that startles him is that he had served in the army with him in the Revolution, and he was reported killed. Grote was reported killed in the Battle of Oriskany, and here he is. He's alive, and so the senator picks him up, takes him to a tavern. It's probably the George Washington Tavern in downtown Scotia. And starts, asking him. He knew who he was. He knew him by name. And by this time, the guy's speaking like 4 languages: 2 Indian languages, Dutch and English. And the story was that the Indians had scalped him at Oriskany and then taken him prisoner. He survived, and he was their slave up in the Hudson Bay area of Canada for most of 20 years. And he finally manages to escape, and comes down, and he says, well, have you stopped to see your family? You had a wife and kids. And he says, no. He says, they think I'm dead, and it's just as well we leave it at that. He says, he paid for him to stay overnight at the tavern, and he says, I'll come back for you in the morning and take you home to your family, which was, just up the road in Cranesville. And the next morning, Rip is gone. But he was seen in Albany a day or 2 later. Somebody else saw him, and then he's lost to history after that. But the whole story is certainly the basis of the, because Rip comes back and he can't, his wife is dead and his daughter looks like his wife, and he's all confused, and yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
Rip Van Winkle originated in the town of Amsterdam, New York. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Did I overhear that Mr. Sheridan passed away?
He did. We were just talking about him.
I wish they have a picture of him in the paper. He was such an interesting writer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it almost seems like I should know him. But I wish they have his picture in the paper.
Well,
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
I'm delighted that I got to know him. Anyway, what were we talking about before I went off into Rip Van Winkle?
I don't know. Would you like me to remember that?
Because you said Cranesville. I thought you were talking about Cranesville. No.
This closing the
Okay, so you don't know where you don't know where I'm going.
No, I don't.
I've been
Nobody ever does.
Hanging out at the Walter Elwood Museum again, and I'm into the scrapbook collection, and I've found one after another. A lot of the scrapbooks there, people are just cutting stuff out of pretty pictures out of magazines and little poems and stuff, and who cares? But there's some people that kept local clippings, and I came across one the other day that was started by a brother and sister in 1915, and it runs to about 1938 or so.
Wow.
Off and on. And actually there were a few other things just kind of plugged into it from later years, like Harry. I posted the Harry Truman appearing in Amsterdam clipping. One thing I did not post, very interesting. We know how the Yankees came to Amsterdam in 1942, and to a lesser extent we know they came back in 1949. Slightly different iteration of them. What I learned from this old scrapbook is that in 1916, the New York Giants played an exhibition game in what was then Crescent Park and is now Shuttleworth Park.
Right. Yeah. Didn't you have that on Facebook?
No, I didn't put that in yet.
I thought I saw something on Facebook.
No. You're hearing it here first. 1915, 12 members of the New York Giants, including their entire outfield, came up here for an exhibition game against the Empires, which I forget whether the Empires was the colored team from the area, or whether I'm using the language of the day, by the way, so keep your criticisms, or whether it was a local team, Amsterdam team. I'm not sure, but I've seen the name pop up before, because I think the Empires played the first game in Crescent Park when it opened, when it had its grand opening 100 years ago. So that's interesting. New York Giants, 1915, played right here. Gavin Murdoch is here, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Gavin? I thought you were gonna bring your Piper with you.
Nah, you gotta go home and shovel. Yeah, there is keep. It's not a free ride at our house. He thinks it is, but it's really not.
Your driveway wasn't that bad when I walked by it this way.
Yeah, somebody had shoveled right at the end of our driveway to the street already for us, because other people park on the other half of the driveway now, so they tend to help out a little bit this year, which
cool.
is nice. But there is a water break up there coming down Northampton from someplace.
Probably the mall. It's probably that one again.
It might be.
That was broken last
all the
week.
way down. And it's like this.
Oh, that's right.
It's all pooling.
That's right. And it was also pooling at the. If you were walking, you would know it was also pooling at Northampton and Phillip Street.
Did you walk?
I walked a pace until Pastor Clyde came by with the bus on Division Street, and fortunately I had my $2
Did you?
with me. And
is that a round trip fare or one way?
No, that was one way. And I said, I don't care how long it takes, as long as I'm there before 10 o'clock. I said,
Did you make it?
Yeah, sure. About 10 minutes to spare.
Oh, wow. That's early for you.
Oh, yeah, he puts his pedal to the metal. Well, no, I'm just kidding, folks. Cheryl, if you're listening, I just made that up.
Which part? Do they drive slow or?
No. He does not drive. He does not. He drives safely for conditions, or at least he did today. What he does the rest of the week, I don't know. I cannot say. So nice funeral. We discussed Sandy a moment ago.
Yeah, I heard that. It was nice gathering, a lot of family there and everything. Her youngest son, Andy Casser, is one of my students.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he's once the fireman.
Right.
So they asked me should have played, so played down there.
Is he official piper for the fire department?
He's an official piper for a lot of things.
He is the official piper for the show with no name. That's why I was kind of hoping with school off he might come in and play a couple of tunes today.
There's no school today?
No.
Honestly,
they found Ichabod Crane closed, so everybody else figured we might as well close as well.
I heard about this Ichabod Crane.
Yeah.
I thought it was Cranesville.
No, they don't have a school anymore.
Oh, all right.
They used to.
They have a school down there.
Yeah. Then it became part of the large MTM school district and the greater MTM school district.
Well, the Cranesville school that they tore down was only about 10 years old when they tore it down, wasn't it?
Wasn't that old, yeah. It was a relatively young school.
If that, might not even have been that old. Yeah.
A lot of little rural schools around that became part of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Fort Johnson, you had Rick Buchanan up in Hageman.
Town of Florida.
Yeah, great school district. Yeah.
You had the number of one-room schoolhouses, including the one at Manny's Corners.
Yeah.
But you know that because you're on the school board, so you know the history of our school district.
I knew that before.
Well,
they don't give you a test to be on the school board, see what you know about the school.
You're kidding? Well, maybe they should.
Yeah. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Mike Sierra had that test he gave everybody who wanted to run for city office.
Oh, yeah.
What was it, about 200 questions?
50 questions.
No, it was more than 50. It was at least 100.
Well, he only had 50 for me.
Really? Oh, well, maybe you just stopped at 50 if you were doing so bad. No point going any further.
Oh, boy, he was bad.
What was that like?
Multiple choice? Multiple choice, fill in the blanks, matching?
No,
I don't even think I answered any of them. He handed me that thing. You're kidding me, and I probably threw it out.
Did you see the test? Was it tough?
Well, I've heard him talk about it from time to time. But yeah, you got to know how to read a budget and what the different issues are.
Well, that's important things if you want to be on the council.
Yeah.
You know how to read a budget. You don't want to be bamboozled by somebody
That's right.
up there.
Some fast talking.
That's right.
Bamboozled? You mean malarkey?
Well, a bamboozler would talk malarkey.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just checking.
Yeah. So it's important because a lot of these politicians bamboozle and fill you with malarkey when they talk. It's amazing how many ways they cannot answer a question.
Well, that's a skill, though.
But it's not a skill that people want to see you have.
Well, it depends. If they're being asked gotcha answers, gotcha questions, giving them a gotcha answer is probably the right thing.
They can take 15 minutes to say yes or no.
And then you don't know what they said at the end.
Yeah.
Now, you remember we had the whole Ebola scare that lasted until the election.
Yeah.
Well, now, the press haven't gotten a taste of that. Now it's this measles epidemic. What do they have? 100 cases of measles nationwide or something like that, and it's measles that we all got.
Yeah.
And so now it's which politicians think parents ought to have a choice whether to
vaccinate or not.
Vaccinate or not. Well, the vaccination is so recent it was after us. We got the measles and then the vaccination came out.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. If you're not getting, here's what they're saying, and you're hearing it over and over. If you don't get your child, by the way, I am 100% in favor of vaccination before anybody misrepresents anything I'm saying. 100%. Okay? Especially those childhood diseases. Okay. Now, what they're saying is, if you don't get your child vaccinated, you're putting all the other children at risk. And I'm starting to think about this myself, and let's bring this out logically. Well, exactly what other children are you putting at risk when you don't vaccinate your child?
Well, if they're in school, every kid in school.
Who haven't been vaccinated.
You're only putting at risk all the other stupid people who didn't have their kids vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then once they have the measles, they're immune.
Yeah. I guess,
or they die.
I guess somebody had got the vaccination and their kid developed autism.
That's been
all of a sudden.
That's been debunked.
That has been debunked over and over and over and
They
over
still
and
bring
over.
it up.
Even
They
the
still bring it
autism
up.
societies are coming out and say, it doesn't cause it, get your kid vaccinated.
Right.
Right.
And frankly, when you weigh the risk against the benefit, the risk is so small, and the benefit so large.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, you look at another thing about reading these 100-year-old papers is, the death. We had 12 people die from cholera last week in the city of Amsterdam. Wow. Typhoid fever. Oh, we had another. It was even in the early 1950s, it was a good summer for polio. We only had 12 cases. Only 12 people crippled.
It was a challenge surviving childhood back then. A lot of kids died.
Yes.
Okay, because, scarlet fever, rubella,
My father had scarlet fever. He had rheumatic fever. He had one of the whooping cough or one of those things that they got rid of later. Jeepers. Anyway, let's take a call. This is WCSS. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. Bob, you were asking who would you put at risk by not getting the shot?
Yeah.
Typically, it would be kids less than a year old who generally don't get the
Who
shot.
haven't had the shot yet. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Or persons who cannot have the shot because of underlying medical conditions.
Right. That's true, too.
So that's who you would put at risk. And what they say I've seen on TV and read is that they kind of look at it as the herd mentality. Everyone who can get the shot gets the shot, and then you protect those within your circle who can't get the shot.
Right. They say that. What do they say? If you get a 95% cooperation with the vaccination, that's generally good enough to protect everybody.
Yeah. Well, you look at the state of Mississippi. They basically give no exemptions for the shot for personal or religious reasons. You have to get the shot unless you have an underlying medical condition. So they have a vaccination rate of 97.7%, and they haven't had a measles case in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I think that's been true most places. That's why it's in the news, because it's now such a rarity. What we used to see is
a commonality.
Correct. Everybody had the measles.
As far as if we can talk for a second about making things up, we'll skip right over Brian Williams.
But before we do, I have to repeat what my brother posted on Facebook yesterday, which was, he lives in suburban Boston. He says, how much snow do we have? We had so much snow that Brian Williams is taking credit for cleaning my driveway.